Dear Chicago Bros and the rest of the G2 Army, I'm sorry. I am sorry for making fun of your shooting percentage. I'm sorry for wanting to fade your roster anytime we do rankings or predictions. I'm sorry for making a lot of jokes about Grid 2. I now understand G2 supremacy, and I thank the sacrifice of the founding fathers, Lord Kernovi and Lord Rizzo. Please forgive us. Sincerely, the Talkin Carball podcast.
Amen.
Amen. Welcome to, I think on the last episode I said it was episode 9. Not surprisingly, messed that up, but I believe this is episode 9.
Who
This
even
is,
knows?
who even knows? This is TCB. I'm Austin. That other voice you hear is Colin, and we like to talk about professional Rocket League. And we had a crazy, crazy weekend this week. I know we say that a lot, but this week had actual implications on the major, so we have a whole lot of stuff to unpack. I just had there was a lot of Rocket League to watch. That's all. That's all I'll say.
That is true. Lots of Rocket League every single weekend. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
but this week felt like a little bit extra. We'll get in later, but the longest I think RLCS set we've ever had went all 21 games. If you missed that, I'm sorry. I don't know if I'd recommend watching it all back because it took like 3 hours, but definitely check out the highlights.
Yeah, it was an insane weekend. But we have some news to go over first, as always. You guys have probably, if you're listening to this, you guys probably know most of it, but we'll go over it pretty quickly. Complexity signs the extra neutral roster, which nobody predicted.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how like when I saw that on our docket, I was like it had already sort of set into my brain, but like when that news dropped, everyone was shook to their core.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. Everyone was like, Cloud9, 100 Thieves, Moist Esports.
and
Uh,
then complexity.
yep.
But pretty cool. Obviously, Cloud9 has a slightly larger legacy in Rocket League, but complexity does as well. They had a team in I think RLCS 8. They actually had Flakes on their team. It was one of the last big rosters he played on. They didn't do so hot, but now they're back with a banger team, and they still have a chance to make the first major. So hype
Yeah.
for them.
Yes. Our next piece of news is Pulse signing the Alke roster in APAC
South,
South.
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 Yes.
Okay.
Wait.
So
Yeah. Tokyo's the dominant
yeah,
team in APAC North.
yes. So they're the dominant team there. They've won all three majors or all three
They,
regionals, and they will be going to the APEC qualifier under the Pulse name.
Yeah,
Um,
which is huge because I don't think like any real Rocket League like clan or org has. I mean, anything's as big as Pulse. They're about as big as it gets in the scene. But to see them sort of transition to an organization instead of a clan just shows how big Rocket League esports like is that a team can do that. So really exciting and a cool pickup for them because that's kind of like a guaranteed way to get yourself to land by picking up a minor region team. So very smart.
yeah, definitely for sure. Um, Rogue, Rogue rumors flying around.
Yes,
What do you
sir.
got to say about that one?
The rumor dropping is filling those first killer shoes might be young Daniel himself. And I know everyone's saying, oh, replace trees on G2, oh, put him on phase. But Rogue seemed to have a way of snagging talent, sort of, luring them in. But we'll see whether or not that, actually comes to fruition. But Shift has been pretty good with their rumors over the past 6 months. So I would have faith.
Yeah, and he's rumored to be taking the place of Turin Turo, which I believe, which would mean that the original three players on Rogue at the beginning of RLCSX would all no longer be on Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, was that team really anything without First Killer?
Apparently not.
Unfortunately, I did. I am really sad. I like to call it Turin Taroko, but I did really like that combo. Unfortunately, this season hasn't been able to reach the same heights at all. So bringing in Daniel will be a fresh boost to that team. And as I, I I don't know, I was talking to Colin about this. I guess maybe I have some unhealthy tendencies, but whenever one of the teams I support gets someone really good, I tend to drift away. So hopefully I can get myself to stay with Rogue, because if everything is true about Daniel, then he'll take this team back to the same heights they were at with RLCSX.
You deserve to root for a team that can have talent.
Thank you for your validation.
Also, as always, apparently we record at the time that all the news breaks. Heroic just signed the Flying Dutchman.
Oh, interesting. I don't know too much about that org, but wow, we're really good at recording right at the critical time.
Yep.
But as usual, when an announcement comes out while we're talking, we don't really have time to process or really think about it or have any sort of prepared thoughts. But all I can say is hype.
And congrats to the Flying Dutchman. They deserve an org because they've been a top team in Europe.
Yeah, and
So,
I mean, any team that has Panda, like a player as big as that, deserves to have a big, like a decently sized org backing them. So huge for everyone involved.
yeah.
Back to, we'll see if we get interrupted again before we even finish our news segment.
Yeah, back to the pre-scheduled news. Kansas City Pioneers is going back to the 3-man roster, dropping freshness. Not shocking, they've been horrible and haven't made a regional yet. And Gregan, after being dropped as the coach, will be joining the RLCS broadcast.
Yeah, I'm actually. Well, I mean, we covered him leaving Guild last time, and we're sort of not like with the results, not surprised, but sort of confused, like what was going on there. But this is obviously, compared to coaching Guild, a much better opportunity. And I was thinking about this last night. I think it's going to be pretty cool to have someone on the desk who, I mean, Gregan has spent, the past couple of years like in scrims, like with much closer contact and relationships than most, of the talent in the scene has. So I think he'll have a lot of really unique perspectives. Obviously, he can't leak too many things. But I think that pretty much wraps up all our news. Nothing else, too big, but still, as we're approaching the winter split, people are starting to get proactive and make moves. So that's exciting to see.
Yeah, roster mania. I don't know when the official transfer window is. I think it'll be after the LAN, obviously, but I think we'll know a decent amount of stuff that goes on before, or we'll know what teams are looking for people before the window actually opens. I would guess.
Yeah, what we're probably going to see is a lot of drops in the next couple of weeks, but not too many announcements. And so we'll sort of have to wait till the end of the off season for that. But we'll be able to do a lot of speculation, because this KCP move certainly isn't going to be the first roster change that's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to get into NA Regional 3?
Yeah, I think I'm done with appetizers. Let's get into the main course.
So for some reason, with this major, they just skipped Friday, right? They just picked 8 random teams to do the playoff.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
No one played on Friday, right?
Yeah, no major disappointments or anything. It was just like bad RNG,
Yeah.
You can't blame yourselves if you didn't, perform to what you needed to.
I'm sad.
Do you want to talk about it?
No.
Okay.
But I will.
All right. Let's do well. Do you want to start with that elephant in the room? Because that is like we usually do sort of like things that jump off the page looking at the standings, and I'm sorry, but that is the elephant.
Yeah, version 1, 03. It was bad. They didn't look good, but they didn't play as horrible as you would expect from O3.
Hmm.
Rogue played decent. V1 probably should have won that. They had a couple opportunities to put that one away and didn't. Oxygen, when V1 played Oxygen, LJ was just peaking hard. But to
That'll
get
happen
swept by
sometimes.
that, to get swept, you still got to do better than that. And then Accelerate, I don't know. They came out, they lost the first two. Were about to reverse sweep, and then everything went wrong, and probably the worst goal I've ever seen to knock someone out of major contention happened. But yeah, they just weren't good enough, and I'm sad.
Yeah, it's just disappointing because I mean, like they have just raised expectations so much higher through the first two regionals, and just to have it end like this, like I think that if they had done this in the first major, it would have been like it would have been surprising, but not like knock you on the floor, shocking. But this was, and it was in the saddest way possible. The V1 stream, like the clip of their OT loss in Game Five against Accelerate is just one of the saddest like 30 seconds of casting in Rocket League. So my heart goes out to the players. My heart goes out to Colin and the rest of the V1 fans. That's not how their run here deserved to end.
No, deserve to end in round 5, game 5 overtime.
That was the script that should have lived out. But unfortunately, that's not the world we got to live in.
Yeah.
Another thing that was kind of crazy about the Swiss was the first round. So FaZe lost to Pittsburgh Knights, and Envy lost to EU, and so
Yeah.
that was kind of crazy. There was a lot of stuff going on Twitter about how Envy needs to like wake up, like what the heck's going on, which is warranted losing, in Game Five to EU. But that created a kind of wonky Swiss where actually none of the big five played each other at all. So if you look around, a lot of teams had sort of an easier path forward because of that, which was just kind of weird.
Except complexity.
Yeah, they ran the gauntlet.
Space Station Energy Envy back to back to back.
All game fives.
Yeah.
So major props to them for pulling it through. And you want to take that transition to go through the standings?
Yeah. So our 3-0 teams, Energy G2.
No
Yeah, not a
surprises.
whole lot to say.
Two best
When
teams in NA.
when FaZe and Envy lose in the first round, and then I guess Space Station lost in the second round, so they didn't play each other. They only played teams they were better than. They won them all.
Yeah, not the most exciting Swiss in that, right?
No, FaZe, Space Station, and Envy went 3-1. Again, not shocking. The 5 best teams in NA took the top 5 seeds in the playoff bracket.
Yep.
Yeah, and then our 3-2 teams, Complexity, Oxygen, and their first regional makes top 8, which honestly not shocked by. I almost picked them. They go 3-2. And then Ghost.
Yeah. Nothing really crazy here. I mean, you would hope that either Xset or V1 would have been contending for that 7 spot over Oxygen. But props to Complexity and Ghost. They were the two other outside teams that had a chance of getting into Sweden, and they got the job done in the Swiss, going to Game 5 and clutching it out. But yeah, nothing else too surprising.
Yeah. Our 2 and 3 teams, so teams that almost made it but didn't quite make it, were Charlotte Phoenix, E United, and Pittsburgh Knights.
Not what you would have expected. Both of
No.
our getting slapped teams going 2 and 3.
Yeah, so props to all those 3 teams for putting up more of a fight than people thought they would.
Yeah, I mean,
Our
I'm looking around here. I'm seeing some good victories. We talked about EU and Pittsburgh beating Envy and FaZe respectively, and then also taking down Rogue and Xset too. and Charlotte beating, its direct competitors in Vibrance and Accelerate, but also going to Game 5 against Complexity and Space Station. That's a huge performance from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. And then our 1 and 3 teams, Xset, Accelerate, and Rogue. Xset, very disappointing for them. Lost to Ghost, FaZe, and Pittsburgh Knights. Other than that, what do you have to say about Rogue?
They kind of got boomed by the fact that, well, not even really. Just the fact that Envy was sort of like hanging around down there in the 1-1 category, because they did their job in beating their sort of direct competitor in the first game in V1 in Game 5. That's huge for them. It's like the first time they've ever beaten someone in the same tier as them. So I guess we got to celebrate that. But then they lost to G2s, which is what you would expect. But then they pulled Envy in round 3. And at that point, it's just going to be a really tough day. And then losing to EU, their season was already over. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And then the O3 team, the only O3 team was Vibrant. No other O3 team.
Nope. Yeah, this is only a 15-team tournament. There actually was a secret team that will be revealed at the time of LAN that didn't have to play, and we'll just make it automatically, and we'll get to that later.
Yep.
Around to T1.
And it's a roster composed of me and Austin just playing 2v3.
Yeah. Immense success inbound. Did either of us hit a single prediction here?
No. We both went 0-3.
Well, you know what? I'm going to blame that on the fact that we were using the incorrect matchups. If I had known that EU was going to be playing Envy on Envy's most important tournament of the season, I would have picked EU to win that in Game 5 every day of the week. So I'm blaming that.
Yeah, that's on me. We'll see later if I did any better when I again tried to make the matchups for the EU. So we'll see if I did better on that in that aspect.
Well, you aren't doing it live this time, so I have higher expectations.
Yeah. I think I did better, but not perfect.
Yeah, it gives you the general idea anyway. But that takes us to the playoffs.
Yeah. So we had a couple kind of pointless games and some extremely important games.
Yeah, it went every other.
So they started from the top this time.
Strange.
I don't know how they decide what matchup goes first, but they really should do it based on importance.
Yeah.
But the first matchup was Energy Ghost. Ghost needed to finish top 2
at least
to have a chance at the major.
Yeah.
That wasn't really gonna happen.
No, and Ghosts have a somewhat unique style, and so potentially, that could take someone by surprise, but they drew NRG, which is the most adaptable and smartest team pretty much in all of Rocket League, so nice, NT to Ghost, but that just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, NRG beat them 4-1. Yeah, the Ghost didn't really have much of a shot there, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm slightly worried about this Ghost roster in the sense where I don't necessarily feel like Lion Blaze is the right fit for Shock and Roldas. I think if they had a really cracked goal scorer, that team could, do more consistent. And with T. Carell in the spring, they were starting to pull that off. But there were a lot of chances falling to Lion Blaze. And it's no diss to him. He's an insane player, but he's not that guy who's going to slot it in when it matters. So that's my only concern for that roster moving forward.
What, kind of skipping ahead a few weeks to roster changes, but if you were going to make a change to that team, would you switch out Lion Blaze or would you switch out Roldas for a cracked goal scorer?
I would switch out Lion Blaze because I think that it would be better for all parties involved. I think if Lion Blaze went to a team that where he could sort of like slot into a more like third man role, he would be insane. And it would take that team to new levels. Most specifically, I think if Lion Blaze went to phase, that team is arguably like the most stacked team in NA. So that's like I think maybe they could be a better team if they pulled in a crack goal scorer and then sort of like built around Lion Blaze. But I think that both could be better off if they made some sort of trade like that.
Hmm. Interesting.
Well, not a trade. I don't think that Ghost would be better off if they brought an illusion.
But yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. But
Um,
that was that. That was our low stakes game. And then we moved
yes.
swiftly into a very, very
Oh
high
my
stakes
God.
game. One of my favorite series of the weekend.
Yeah. So Envy versus SSG. Winner goes to LAN.
Yeah.
Loser has to wait and pray that FaZe beats Complexity for a chance at a tiebreaker.
Not a situation you want to be in.
And we started it off with a 9-minute overtime.
Talk about like setting the tone. Oh my gosh.
It was an insane series. Envy won it in game 7. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Back and forth the whole way.
it was just like peak Rocket League too. Both teams like I don't know, Envy and SSG like both sort of play like they play their very own game. They don't really sort of like morph, and so it's just like head to head clash. But in the end, Envy were able to shut out Space Station twice, just showing off that Envy defense, and they just sort of traded blows, and that was the difference maker in the end. But just like so exciting, so much fun to play, to have Rocket League with like what feels like much more real stakes than all of our CSX. So just so much fun to soak in.
Absolutely. I mean, these teams were playing for LAN
Yeah,
because you don't have to hope for another team to help you out.
yeah, and this whole weekend, obviously Atomic and Mist were playing up to their usual potential, if not more. But Turbo in the Swiss, I think, was scoring like over 1 goal a game, and throughout the entire playoffs was shooting like unreal. So it was just teams playing to their peak. This is the third time in a row that SSG have lost the eventual tournament winner. I mean, take that for what
Well,
you want, but they
they
have
didn't
played the
lose.
team. What'd you say?
Well, Envy didn't win the tournament.
Oh, I'm tripping. Ignore that. But
Although someone tweeted it out. Was it Reddles?
it was Reddles, but he tweeted it
Yeah.
before when it looked like Envy was going to win. I'm tripping
Yep.
off the goop. Ignore
Reddles
that.
cursed it.
Yeah, but Space Station have played an extremely hot team each time, each regional, and obviously they need to win those games. But this has not been a bad season for Space Station. It's not like this roster looks off and they're bad. It's just that they're not quite punching up there at the big weights.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, that was an absolutely insane series.
Yeah, next one, not quite so much.
Yeah, I kind of tuned out for this one because it meant pretty much nothing.
I was completely tuned out.
G2 versus Oxygen. Literally, Oxygen couldn't qualify no matter what they did. G2 qualified when XSET didn't. When XSET and V1 didn't make a playoff bracket, so this was just for pride. And G2 were the best team of the weekend, so they won that.
Yeah, and they had already 3-1 Oxygen in the Swiss and were looking incredible. Their offense is arguably the best in NA right now, so there was no way that this series was going to end any other way than it did. Maybe 4-0, so it was 4-1.
Yeah,
So props to Oxygen for making top eight, especially after not making a regional. Like that's something to be proud of. Chin up. We don't mean any disrespect when we're saying that this didn't mean anything, but it didn't mean anything.
yeah. Next game, another big one.
Yeah.
All the Space Station fans watching on, and extreme nervousness. FaZe Clan versus Complexity. So FaZe Clan had already clinched, but if Complexity were to have won this, Complexity would have clinched LAN, and Space Station would be sitting at home.
Yeah, this
Uh,
series was just chaos. Is it was just like the most frenetic and like frantic Rocket League I think I've ever seen, which just made it unbelievably fun, especially with the stakes and like all the space station players like live tweeting and praying for the just to get the chance to play Complexity. And like I don't think I'm torn because like I wanted Complexity to have the chance to go through, but I'm even more excited to get the tiebreaker. So I honestly wouldn't have had this play out any other way.
yeah, I think the tiebreaker is going to be super, super fun. But yeah, FaZe Clan won this one in game seven. It was a really tight series, except for game seven, where FaZe kind of smacked them.
Yeah,
But
I think Complexity by game seven had used up all their good luck and just like sheer power of will to get themselves there. They were just sort of like hanging on the entire time, just like pre jumping saves and blocks, and pretty much getting like one or two goals a game from Shad being on FaZe's backboard when they were clearing for some reason. But the thing that really stood out to me from this series and sort of came to fruition later is FaZe look like they're going through some serious growing pains with this roster. I think it was Wavepunk said on the desk before the semifinals that if FaZe like made it through Complexity, then we're seeing peak FaZe and they're gonna beat G2 and probably win the whole tournament. And that is not how I felt at all. When FaZe won the first regional, they basically trusted in their individual talent and ability to make solo plays. And like they obviously were still trying to pass and like incorporate team plays, but like when the going got tough, that's what they leaned on. But this time it felt like they were trying to force passing plays, and they just weren't beating Complexity, and they just haven't ironed that out yet. So I'm not very confident in FaZe unless they take these next couple weeks to really iron things out. Going into LAN, it feels like they're in a bit of a transition period.
yeah, I think I would slot FaZe right now as the number four team in NA,
Hmm. Above Space Station.
above whoever wins between Space Station Complexity.
Okay. I guess that shows where my mind's at going into that matchup, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, yes.
But
I would
yeah,
also say Space Station personally, but if Complexity wins, then you've got to give it to Complexity. So
yeah. But the series went the distance, was a banger, and sad for Complexity, but their fate is still in their own hands, so they can't really complain.
yep. And so that takes us to Sunday semifinals. Team Envy versus NRG.
Bit of a snooze fest.
Yeah, so NRG had already clinched the one seed. Envy playing for seeding. Uh, I don't even know if I watched this. I don't remember. It
I
it
like.
wasn't exciting, so I can't remember anything that happened.
I think I just watched. I just listened to the audio, but if you look at Energy's schedule before this, they played Accelerate, EU, Complexity in the final round of the Swiss, which was their only really like extremely difficult series, and then played Ghosts in the quarters. And like it just sort of felt like Energy was only half there. And so it was just going to be a matter of time before they ran into a team that was, close to their level that they weren't going to win. And that's just what this was. They just weren't, they had no reason to give full effort and full focus, and Envy had everything to play for. So not surprising.
Yeah, NRG, they had already clinched LAN. They'd clinched the one seed at LAN. Um, Justin had a Forza stream going within an hour of them getting eliminated from this.
He had more hours on Forza than Rocket League in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, but that just shows, I mean, they don't even need to try to beat the teams they're better than.
Yeah, and it
And
takes
they're, yeah,
110% of your focus to break through Envy's defense. So not really a
yes.
problem there at all, honestly.
No, they'll come ready to go as what I assume will be the number one overall seed at LAN.
Yeah, they got to be pretty heavy favorites going in. This is not the real energy, and we've gotten to see the real energy plenty this season. So no issues there.
All right, the next series, G2 versus FaZe. G2 smacked them.
Yep, they most certainly did. Um, Kind of a little bit what I was talking about earlier, but FaZe's offense looked pretty horrid. They could either only have first killer shoot the ball or create no chances for first killer. Never both. Very unidimensional, and G2 just ate that up.
Yeah, and I think G2 when they're on is like the most dangerous team in A, and
Easily.
and they were on.
Yeah. And they've been on too. I mean, this is two of the
Yeah,
three regionals where they've looked like that. And then the first regional, they ran into NRG in the quarters. So they've been consistent too, and they're a whole nother beast.
Therese is a talent.
Yeah, I think this
It-
weekend was the best I've seen him play offensively. I think last regional, I think he played extremely well too, but I paid more attention this regional, and a talent is just the perfect word for it.
yeah.
Still
So
like one
then
of the go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna move on to the finals.
Yeah, we can still just talk about G2 more once we get there.
Yeah, because they played 21 games. G2 won the first set of 7. Then Envy won the next one in game 7. And then G2 won the next one in game 7.
Pulling this up on Wikipedia is just insane.
It's so long. There were 2 7-minute overtimes in here. So
Yeah,
it took forever. I thought G2 had it won in the second series in that overtime. And then some shenanigans happened and Atomic played defense like he was a brick wall,
yeah,
and Envy pulled that one out, and then it looked like Envy was going to win series 3. They were up 3-1, and then they got shut out in 3 straight games.
yeah. This is
It
like,
was
the sort of meme question, like, oh, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? The unstoppable force being G2's offense, and the immovable option being Envy's defense. And the answer is you flip a coin, because there's just literally no way to predict like any of these games. Like at any point, it just felt like, other than I think there were like 2 blowouts in the entire series of 21 games. But at any moment, it just felt like G2 were either just going to pound their way into the net, or Envy were going to hold on long enough to score a counterattacking goal. It was just like at any point, like either could happen, and you were just along for the ride.
it was an absolutely insane series. They played 21 games. It really only came down to the 3 on Champions Field,
Yeah,
and G2 had the ice.
they did. They held on when it mattered. Chicago scored an important goal, getting a little doink, which is apparently how you beat Envy's defense.
You got to do something out of the ordinary, otherwise they'll be there.
Yeah, but also another cool thing to take note of here is the new coaching addition of Sathyu, paying off. Maybe helping. He seems like a really nice guy. He would certainly keep me calm in tense situations. But that's one of the little differences they've made in these past couple months, and they're at a new level now. So I'm excited to see where this team goes.
Yeah, and with that, G2 clinched the number 2 seed in NA,
Yeah.
and Envy got the 4 seed behind FaZe.
Wow. Is that I'm not looking at that right now. Is that based off tiebreakers, like the 1 point tiebreaker, or is it more
No,
separated than
it's
that?
FaZe is up 10 points on Envy, or 11 points on Envy.
Okay. But huge for G2. I think the second spot is well deserved. They have easily been the second best team in NA throughout this
Yeah,
entire
but
season.
yes, but keep an eye out for Envy at LAN.
Oh yeah.
They've gotten better every tournament, and Turbo on LAN is something that everyone should be scared of.
Yeah, that turbo magic was really starting to heat up during this tournament. It felt like every time there was something like every time it felt like there was going to be no breakthrough, the ball just pops out to Turbo and he gets sort of like a weird 50 that falls back to him and ends up in the net. So many Turbo goals. Also, Colin, Envy has been watching our VODs. Did you see the sheer amount of kickoff goals that were scored during their run? It was insane. I noticed it when they played against NRG, and then the finals, both teams, like every game, that felt like there was at least 1 to 2 kickoff goals. It was nuts.
Yeah. For the people that don't know out there, when me and Austin Q2s together, 90% of our goals are kickoff goals because
Yep.
we're terrible at creating our own offense.
Yep.
But
Colin is a master jammer, and we
yes,
we exploit that to perfection.
it's beautiful.
Put him in RLCS as a kickoff specialist. He just goes in, does a little kickoff, and then just leaves, and they substitute
Fogo.
the player in. Yeah, Fogo. But that wraps up this regional. But the NA RLCS action is not over. On Tuesday at, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, we have the tiebreaker match that we've alluded to several times between Space Station and Complexity. One of the most exciting series I think we've ever had in RLCS, so you better be there.
Yes, and I took a poll on Twitter of everyone in the world's opinions on who would win, and it came out to a perfect 50-50 split. Definitely wasn't 4 votes.
Oh, it's up to 4 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 whole votes.
We're getting closer and closer to statistically significant.
Yeah. So of our viewers, half of you think Space Station's going to win, and half of you think Complexity's going to win.
So where are you?
I think Space Station is going to win.
Yeah. I am in complete agreement.
But I'm only about 55% confident in that answer.
Yeah. I know they've played since. I think Complexity beat them during actually this tournament in the Swiss stage. But when they played in the first regional, when like the stakes were at its highest, Space Station swept them and they literally ate them for breakfast. I'd never seen Complexity more hard countered than when Space Station played. And so I have a feeling with like a couple days of prep and Space Station going into that matchup, knowing that they're playing against Complexity, I don't think it's going to be another 4-0 sweep, but I am, if I were putting money down, I would be placing it heavily on Space Station.
Yeah. And I was just looking to see what their history was. So Complexity won their only matchup as Complexity. Is that correct? And then Space Station beat them twice 4-0 when they were true neutral. Or 4-0 and 4-1.
Yeah.
But in all events.
Complexity do have the most recent win, so maybe they figured something out during the Swiss.
Yeah. We shall see.
Tuesday, November 16th, 7 p.m. Pacific. Nope, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Be there. Yes, sir.
Playing for their lives.
Yeah. Reddle's playing for his ability to stand on desks and shout at children. And Complexity playing for... It would be pretty crazy if South America moves to North America and steals one of our major slots. That's kind of a rough look for NA.
Wouldn't be great.
But it also is like the by far best team from South America. So
yes.
It's just fuel for EU memes.
Absolutely. That brings us to stonks and stinks.
Stonks and stinks. All right.
Who you stonking?
Oh man. I feel like this is kind of like a little bit of a low blow, but I'm stonking Envy. I think that, obviously the two best teams in this tournament were G2 and Envy, and I think that Envy have the most, they have the ability to replicate that performance on LAN. I'm a little scared about G2, even though I know I wrote a G2 apology letter and we've been talking about them. I'm a little worried about their ability to replicate that on LAN. I am not worried at all about Envy's ability to replicate that. They have Turbo, who's the goat. They have Mist, who no matter where he is just like the most consistent player. Atomic is the only person who's not land proven, but I have a lot of faith in that team.
Yeah, I can agree with that one.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give Stonks to a team that I hope can get more consistent. Oxygen.
Yeah.
They're really fun to watch. LJ's so good.
Hmm.
I actually wouldn't be that shocked if someone, poached him for a different roster, but
Yeah.
he's really good. They're just inconsistent, but it would be really good to see them playing in the regionals more consistently because they've shown that they can pop off. They got top fours last year. Their first event this year, they're getting top 8. They can compete with the really good teams better than some of the more consistent regional appearances. Team more. I can't talk, but you know what I'm saying. They compete with the top better than like Vibrance and Accelerate, who've been around a little more.
Yeah. It's been sad all around not seeing them, and they finally got rid of that horrendous logo. And their new one is clean, and the boys are looking clean.
Yes,
Also,
stinks.
get the get that memo, Pittsburgh Knights. Your logo's horrible. Oh God, do you want me to do it or do you want to do it?
I'll do it. I gotta be a
Okay,
man.
yeah, it's time to
Version
grow up,
one.
son.
Version one, you stink. You're bad. Do better. Moving on.
Okay. My stinks. Mm, I mean, I guess it feels like tough love, but Xset, I guess. I don't even
You
know
can
if I'm
also give
believing
it.
what I'm saying. What'd
You
you
can give
say?
it to Torrent for not even qualifying.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's like I'm not like it's sad for Xset, but I'm not disappointed. Like they should beat PK, but other than that, they lost, even series. But Torrent not making top 16, what are you doing? You guys are way too talented for that. I expect to see you in every regional from here forward. You should be competing for top 10. Yeah, so Torrent stunk it up this weekend
By not being there.
by not being there. But that takes us to awards. Do you have one or do you need time to think?
I need time to think.
Okay.
I always
I,
write this in and then I have to think of something.
yeah. I have my award is the flash drive award because I am 99% sure that Atomic is using hacks. And so the flash drive award goes to Atomic because if you go and look, I think it's on the RL Esports Reddit or maybe I saw it on YouTube or something, but there's just clips everywhere. Like the saves that Atomic were making are literally inhuman. He's got some sort of car hit ball exe running on his computer because it just doesn't make sense. He's in unrecoverable positions with players bearing downhill on him at top speed, slotting at top corner, and he's just always there. So flash drive award goes to Atomic.
All right. I've come up with my award.
Okay.
It is the Fedipides Award.
Okay.
Uh, for those of you who don't know, Fedipides ran the first marathon. He ran from the town of Marathon to Athens in 490 BC to deliver the news of the Battle of Marathon. This award goes to Team Envy and Team G2 for playing the longest ever series of Rocket League. So congrats, guys. You played 21 games. Took forever.
Can I add a little PS on the end of that?
Yeah.
To James Bott and Corelli for
Oh,
casting 21 straight games.
yes,
and,
for
and,
sure.
and and doing an incredible job of it. They absolutely crushed that final series. They had me engaged, hyped, and understanding the entire time. So huge shout outs to James Bott and Corelli, one of the greatest casting feats I've ever seen.
Yes. And fortunately, they all survived the match as unlike Fedipides, who upon delivering his message, promptly died. So
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Thank you for educating the masses, Colin.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Minor
All right,
regions time.
time to board the ship,
The
Captain Colin, as we go down under. We had a mix-up this time around.
Yeah.
Let me get everything in order here. So, Renegades, the team who won the first two, went out top 8 this time around, and Ground Zero beat Forkidden in the grand finals, allowing Ground Zero to take the number 1 slot at the fall major. And Renegades, who had already clinched, takes the 2 seed.
Yeah, that could honestly have pretty major implications just because I figure the number 2 seed out of OCE is going to be whatever sort of format or they use, to decide like how they're going to play out the major. Being the number 2 seed out of OCE is not going to give you a favorable starting matchup if they use a Swiss. That could really put Renegades in a very tough spot.
Yeah, that's gonna be probably a top 2 NAEU team, I would guess. So
Yeah.
could be rough, but congrats to Ground Zero for winning and for Kidden for a good performance getting up into the top 2.
Yeah, and they took out Direwolves and Riot, the number 3 and 4 teams in OCE. So certainly deserved by them.
Yeah. All right. We get on our boat and head over to the Middle East, not going around Africa this time because that would be a waste of our time, but just going up to the Indian Ocean into the Red Sea in the Middle East, where we're all shocked to find out that Sandrock won the event.
Really?
Yeah. So Sandrock won every single event. They will be representing Middle East and North Africa at the major. Unfortunately, Khaled will not be representing them. Senzo is going to be subbing in.
Yeah, honestly, I think the saddest news, like outside of, true tragedy that we've had in Rocket League in a long time. There's been so much hype to see Khaled play on LAN. So much. And to see, them play so well throughout all 3 regionals and then have him not be able to play it just sucks.
Absolutely. Very disappointing, and we hope to see. I expect Sandrock to be at every single LAN, so hopefully he will be at the other ones.
Yeah, and I mean also Senzo has been on this team for years. He was a part of the original SRG squad that made noise in Europe when playing in whatever I think it was like the European Invitational or something like 2 years ago. So Senzo's insane. He already has a lot of synergy with Ahmad. And Turk is cracked. So they'll still be able to do some damage, and now they can play with 0 expectations on their back. But, well, you're dead on that. I expect to see Khaled eventually. We're just going to have to wait a little bit.
Yeah. And so we go east to Asia Pacific South, where Pulse Clan won their 3rd consecutive regional.
Yep, they were the first team to do it purely by timing. Sandrock joining them with that title of winning all 3 regionals. But yeah, really cool to even just seeing that Pulse logo looks nice, man.
Yeah, it's cool looking. Congrats to them. They did not clinch a spot to major. They will be playing in a APAC qualifier along with Azure Esports, who finished, what did they finish? Top 8? Top 4? They finished top 8 in this this event. They lost to one, I guess how you say that, one esports.
Yeah, who are the third best team.
the third best team, but also might actually be better than Azor because they just got worse draws and played Pulse more often.
Yeah, I think this was the first time they'd played in the playoffs the entire season and they won, so that's kind of sad. But I take it they didn't make top two.
No, because they lost to Pulse in the semis. So, I mean, really, if you want to avoid Pulse, you have to do better in the Swiss.
Yeah, that is the truth. What was I going to say? Also, kind of hype as I'm looking through here, and by the time we reach Regional 3, we don't really keep up with the news in APAC South that much, but there's a lot of signed teams on here, which is really exciting. And if you go back to Regional 1, most of them are just pickup teams, without official orgs backing them. And, these aren't big orgs, but still just really excited to see that there's investment. People over there are paying attention to this, and I'm sure the scene is only going to grow.
Yeah, they have 5 Liquipedia notifications of teams being acquired before the event.
Yeah, super sick. And it'll be I'm excited for that APAC qualifier. It'll be fun. I think that'll be our first cross regional play. So
yes,
little teaser.
So Pulse and Azor will be playing the top 2 from APAC North, and the winner of that double elimination bracket will be going to the major in Sweden.
Is it released when that is going to be?
That will take place on November 22nd.
November 22nd. So
next Monday. Yes, a week from today.
Yeah.
Or a week from yesterday for the people.
For the people. True. Also known as 6 days away. But yes. I believe that concludes our minor region recap.
Yes, it does. That brings us to United, or not United. EU. I'm losing it these days. Europe, significantly better than the United. Europe Regional 3 close qualifier. Yeah. What happened over there?
I'm looking at it right now. Still some teams. I'm trying to think about who didn't make it here. Still haven't seen Wolves yet. Trying to think of anyone else that you'd expect to be in here that I'm not seeing.
I thought of one, but I forgot who they are. So
nice. This is the type of analysis you get when they put qualifiers at the same time as regionals in other regions.
Yes.
But a lot of notable things happened outside of that.
Yeah. So 7 of the 8 teams to qualify were in the last regional.
Again.
The only new one were Cuxer's Minions.
Let's go.
So congrats to Cuxer for making RLCS again. And they took the place of Navi, who did not qualify. Guild also didn't qualify for a second time.
And the new look Liquid also did not. With the addition of Fergum, we're not able to pull it out.
Yeah. So it's interesting with all of the chaos of Europe in the top 16.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not that much chaos outside of the top 16. Only 18 teams have actually made the regional.
Mm-hmm.
So as opposed to NA, which has, let me find it. Where are my tabs?
It's going to be a much larger number.
It will be a much larger number. I've lost everything.
Would you like me to talk to Phil?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think
I got it. Okay. I got it. Good. Thanks for filling that.
Yeah, no problem.
21 teams have made regionals, and NA versus EU is 18.
So there's 2 possible ways to really interpret that. It could speak to EU having like more stronger depth. And so sort of like the threshold for really good teams in EU goes all the way down to like 16, as opposed to NA where that probably goes down to about 10 or 12. Or it could be that the EU sort of bubble below is weaker, Which do you think?
I think it could be a combination of both.
Hmm.
I think the 10 to 15 teams in EU are probably better than the 10 to 15 teams in NA.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know, that EU teams that haven't qualified haven't really looked that good. So
Yeah. And there's teams in NA like Oxygen who, were able to pop in, went all the way to top eight. And I don't think Guild or Liquid, if they made an event, would be doing that at all.
no,
But I'm in agreement though that I think Europe runs deeper. I think that 10 to 16 in Europe, like these teams are stronger than the 10 to 16 in NA. But I think there's a little bit of truth to it too, where the bubble teams in NA are they're doing more than the bubble teams in EU.
yeah. So that's our closed qual, and that means our teams in the final regional are Endpoint, BDS, Dig, Misfits, Semper, Vitality, Heroic, dub, Zero Zero Nation, Barca, Williams, Queso, Cuxers, Minions, SK, Carmine, Evil Geniuses, and Giants.
Yeah. Um, a lot of familiar faces here. It kind of feels like we're doing the same thing over and over again. This time with the addition of, I already blanked on who it was. Who's the new team this regional?
Cuxers, Minions, come on.
Cuxers Minions. For some reason, I was getting them confused with Flying Dutchman.
No,
But
they'll have a new look, but they will be the same
yeah,
team.
yeah. A lot of exciting matchups, honestly, in the first round. If we got this right, which, no disrespect to Colin, I probably wouldn't do any better. But some that are
I
jumping
got
out at
them
me.
all wrong last time.
Some
But
that are
these should be
jumping.
straightforward because there are no tiebreakers. So
Okay. I like BDS versus FCB could be fun. I think that BDS can tend to start slow in their first series of the day, and Barcelona could take a game or two off them and really get things going. I think CRR had a pretty ridiculous goals per game in the last regional. Endpoint Giants will be a good matchup. Misfits Queso, Semper SK. All those are going to be really, really fun to start the weekend off.
yeah. Hopefully Carmine comes out a little better than they did last time. They'll be playing one of 0-0 Evil Geniuses or Heroic. Based on tiebreakers that I don't understand clearly.
Yeah.
What do we think is gonna happen here?
Okay. Easy claps. Teams going 3-0. That was too long of an I. I'm gonna go Vitality. I think they're gonna just take care of business this weekend, do what they need to do.
All right. I'm looking at the teams that need to perform.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna go, even though I don't think they're gonna make the major, I think they're gonna go 3-0. It's gonna be Semper.
I can definitely respect that.
I think they pull BDS in the 2-0 game and they take them down.
Yeah, that would be sort of the classic EU script. All right, fill in the gaps. Who's gonna sneak on in there?
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
I will go. Oh man, I'll go EG.
That's always a good shout.
Evil Geniuses. They've done it before. They bring it back. 3-2.
I'm gonna go Endpoint. I think that they went 2-3 last time. I think that they'll win their first round and probably get a tough second round and sort of have to run the gauntlet from there. But this time I have faith that they're going to learn their lessons and come back stronger and win that game 5.
All right, I respect that. All right,
And easy claps. Or nope,
getting slapped. I have this typed in wrong, but I am getting clapped. Getting slapped.
Geez, man, I don't want to give it to Cux.
It's the obvious choice.
It is the obvious choice. Because It's always a decent shout that either FCB or Giants is going to have a bad day. I think I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna bet against the grain of my usual thought here and put queso. I think they've done well all season. I think they might fall off
No,
here.
don't do this to me in back to back. Don't have my teams go 0-3 in back to back regionals. No.
Hey, I'm doing you a favor. I'm predicting it.
That's
Think
true.
about it like think about it like that.
I'm gonna take Coxers.
You sure you don't want to do Misfits to get back at me?
No, I'm pretty confident Misfits. Well, I shouldn't even say that. It's EU teams go 0-3. That shouldn't. But
Yeah.
Coxers Minions is have never even heard of two of these players.
Is it Growly?
And I guess Rixie.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd say that.
I know Growly's a ones player, and it'd be probably a fair shout to say that Rixie is as well. But props to them for making the run up. I guess not enough props to win over the faith of Colin, but that's
No.
okay.
They also pulled Dig in the first round, so
Yeah, that is tough. There's oh, never mind. I was looking at this is an interesting team of nationalities.
yes, it is. But this is a big regional to find out who is going to the major. Dig will clinch it if they beat Cuxer's Minions. BDS is pretty much in unless they choke hard. Everything else is pretty much up for grabs.
Yeah,
for a few teams.
the
But we
Swiss
made our
is going to
predictions
be
last time.
yeah, the Swiss is going to be really important though, just because like shown by the Space Station Envy matchup, trying to avoid that 4 or 5 zone is going to have pretty real implications where you can avoid playing against another team that is playing for their tournament lives.
Yeah, if we were to get like a Misfits Semper playoffs matchup, that would be absolutely huge.
Yeah. Something we didn't talk about at all is Carmine went they barely slid through the close qualifier going 3-2, losing to some teams they should beat, but they're at this point they're barely even a talking point because they're very much an outside shot to make the major. They pretty much have to win the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, I think they have to win the whole thing and get lucky.
Yeah.
So not great.
But we put out our Preds last week. Let's see what we decided. Did we write that down?
I think we agreed
Yeah, we did.
somehow
We did agree.
on Dig, BDS, Endpoint, Misfits, and Vitality.
So the team that we're sort of fading there is Semper, and we don't believe in the 0-0 Nation or Evil Geniuses and Heroic to go on a hero run.
Yeah.
And I stand with that.
Yeah, I same.
There definitely is a world where Semper makes it in, though.
Oh, absolutely.
That very well could happen because they have, if they perform on equal footing as Vitality, then they're in. That's all they have to do. And Misfits could trip, so it's gonna be really, really exciting.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. But I think that just about wraps up everything we needed to talk about today.
Yeah. Just getting inches and inches closer to land.
Maybe we'll get a prediction right.
Maybe. Good luck with EU though, man.
Yeah. We're 3 for 12 in EU combined.
5 for 12 in NA?
5 for 18.
5 for 18. Sheesh.
Yeah.
You need to start
5 of the
pulling your weight.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be unreal. I can't wait for LAN. It's so awesome seeing the team's reactions to qualifying. all the people from minor regions who have been grinding for years at this point with no RLCS in their native land, to see them get the chance, getting these tickets. These opportunities are life changing. Not just the money, but you can really build a name for yourself off these platforms. People like CJ show that, where he showed personality at LAN, and he's got a streaming career and a following pretty much because of it. So just can't wait. It's been too long.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many players going and ROCS fans that haven't even been around since the last LAN. I think someone did the math. I don't remember the exact numbers, but the time between the last LAN and this upcoming LAN will be like the same as the amount of time between the RLCS Season 8 World Championship and the RLCS Season 3 World Championship.
Yeah, that's insane. We've been robbed the past 2 years of more things than just Rocket League, but certainly Rocket League.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and talking with us on Discord, and thank you.
Thanks.
Peace.
Peace, everyone.